#du freak, a living nightmare, original YouTube explainer script. Imagine standing at your own funeral, your family weeping, your teachers bowing their heads, your whole neighborhood convinced you are gone forever, and you are just lying there, quiet, waiting, playing games on your phone inside a coffin while the world moves on without you. That is not the strangest part of this story. The strangest part is that the boy who ended up there made every single choice that led him to that moment. He was not tricked. He was not kidnapped. He walked right into the darkness with his eyes open, and the darkness welcomed him with open arms. This is the story of how one ordinary teenager lost everything he loved, and discovered that some doors, once opened, cannot be closed again. Darren Shan is about as average as a 14-year-old can get. Decent grades, a loving family, a normal house in a normal town. The only real complication in his life is his best friend Steve. Not that Steve is a bad person. He is just the kind of guy who turns a boring Tuesday into a catastrophe, skipping class, breaking school property, testing the patience of every adult within a 5-mile radius. Darren gets dragged along for the ride more often than he should, and his parents have noticed. They want him to cut the friendship loose. Darren refuses. Loyalty, he decides, matters more than convenience. That loyalty is going to cost him everything. It begins with a flyer, not an email, not a notification, an actual paper flyer thrown from a moving car with the word Destiny printed on its license plate. As omens go, that one is hard to ignore. The flyer advertises something called the Cirque du Freak, billed as the world's most extreme horror show. Terrifying creatures, impossible performances, an experience guaranteed to be unlike anything you have ever seen. Their teacher, a man named Professor Kersey, who is already acting strangely, scratching blackboards with his bare hands and behaving like someone who knows too much, reads the flyer and immediately warns the class to stay away. The show is illegal. The people behind it are dangerous. Under no circumstances should anyone attend. You already know exactly what Steve and Darren did next. They sneak out in the middle of the night and follow the address to a location that feels nothing like a circus should. No bright lights, no cotton candy, no cheerful crowds. The building is dark and secretive, the kind of place that exists just outside the edges of where normal people go. Before they even get inside, something bites Steve's hand, a small, unclassifiable creature that eventually tosses their tickets at them like it cannot be bothered. A man at the entrance interrogates them about their health, their age, their anxiety levels, and whether their hearts are strong enough for what waits inside. They should have turned around right there. What unfolds inside the Cirque du Freak is genuinely unlike anything. This is not a magic show with card tricks and disappearing scarves. A creature called the Wolfman tears a woman's arm clean off her body in the middle of the audience, and she grows it back, calmly, while everyone stares. A performer called Alexander Ribs shows the crowd a gaping hole in his abdomen like it is a minor curiosity. Diana Dentada hangs from a rope using only her teeth. Every act pushes further into territory that stops feeling like entertainment and starts feeling like a threat. Then comes Mr. Crepsley. He walks on stage and announces that his pet spider, a massive, venomous creature named Madame Octa, has escaped from her cage. The audience stiffens. He tries to play it off as part of the show, even performing a sleight of hand that produces the spider instead of a rabbit. But Madame Octa is not cooperating. She jumps, she lunges, she drags webs across the stage while Crepsley chases her with a flute, playing specific notes that seem to calm the creature when they land. It is chaos dressed up as theater. And that is when Steve leans over and says something that changes everything. He has seen this man before, not in person, in a book, a very specific book about supernatural creatures. According to Steve, Mr. Crepsley is not a performer. He is not even entirely human. He is a vampire, an old one, and he has been hiding in plain sight for a very long time. Before Steve can say more, the spider bites Darren on the leg. The effect is immediate and disorienting. Something about the venom puts Darren in a strange, suggestible state, just long enough for Crepsley to lean in and deliver a quiet, chilling warning. Talk about vampires to the wrong people, he says, and you will not wake up in the morning. Then the police arrive, Professor Kersey leading them in to shut the whole operation down. The circus erupts. In the confusion, Darren wanders backstage and finds himself in Crepsley's private room. There is a coffin, there is a cage, and there is the flute. Darren picks it up, plays a few notes, and discovers something astonishing. He can control Madame Octa too. He takes the spider and hides before Crepsley returns with another vampire named Gavin. Hidden in the closet, Darren hears things he was never meant to hear. There is a war coming. Vampires are being hunted. A man named Tiny, someone who apparently died and came back, is playing dangerous games with something called the Book of Souls. Crepsley wants no part of it. He wants peace. Then Steve walks in and ruins the peace. He announces that he knows exactly who Crepsley is. He does not run or scream. Instead, he makes a request that reveals everything about how unhappy he has been. He wants to become a vampire. He wants out of his human life, out of a home where his parents have long since stopped caring, out of a world that has never given him a single thing worth staying for. He offers his blood. He begs. He explains. And Crepsley, after testing him, delivers the cruelest possible answer. Steve's blood is incompatible. The transformation would never take. They send him away, quietly, like the answer was always no, and the question was never really worth asking. Darren slips out through a hidden tunnel without being caught. But outside, a strange black car is waiting. Inside it sits Tiny, the man the vampires mentioned, the one who came back from death. He mistakes Darren for Steve, says something deeply unsettling about how people never escape who they are meant to become, and pulls a single strand of hair from Darren's head before letting him go. He says it is to determine whether Darren is born to lead or born to follow. The answer, this whole story suggests, depends entirely on the choices Darren makes from this moment forward. The crisis arrives faster than expected. Darren hides Madame Octa in a school closet. Steve finds out. An argument leads to the cage being dropped, the spider escaping into a hallway full of students. And the kind of frantic chaos that ends badly for someone, it ends badly for Steve. Madame Octa crawls across his body, reaches his face and bites him. He collapses. The poison moves fast. At the hospital, doctors have no explanation and no treatment. Darren knows exactly one person who might be able to help. Crepsley listens to the situation and makes a proposal that is either generous or calculated depending on how you look at it. He will save Steve, but only if Darren agrees to become a half-vampire and serve as his assistant. He also promises protection from Tiny. The trade is permanent. There is no undoing it. Darren's human life, his family, his school, his future, all of it gone in exchange for Steve's survival. Darren agrees without hesitation. That is the loyalty talking, the same loyalty his parents warned him about. The transformation is brutal. Small cuts, joined hands, a moment of searing cold that moves through Darren's entire body. When it is done, he does not feel powerful. He feels changed, different in a way that cannot be described but can be felt in every moment afterward. He scratches deep gouges into a blackboard without trying. He eats ravenously. And when his little sister walks into the kitchen, something in him stirs, an urge that terrifies him so completely that he understands immediately what Crepsley meant. He cannot stay. The only way to protect his family is to disappear, and the only way to disappear without questions is to make the world believe he is dead. The funeral is devastating. His family mourns, his friends mourn. Steve arrives and leaves his phone in the coffin, the last gift he has to give, but Steve notices something. The hands, the coloring is wrong. He starts shaking the coffin, looking for an answer he is not ready to find until Professor Kersey pulls him away. That night in the cemetery, Crepsley digs up the coffin. Darren is inside, calm as anything, still playing games on the phone Steve left behind. But the reunion is interrupted almost immediately. The smell of decay in the air means only one thing. One of Tiny's people has come. A vampire named Merlot, violent, savage, and contemptuous, attacks with the kind of ferocity that makes it clear this is not a negotiation. He calls Darren a blood bag. He fights Crepsley through headstones and open grave with a brutality that has nothing to do with performance. It takes everything Crepsley has, a truck on the highway, and a perfectly timed escape to survive the encounter. Merlot is not dead. He simply moves on, attacking the truck driver on his way. Darren arrives at the circus camp and sees something that reshapes his expectations entirely. The performers live together like a family. Strange, impossible, sometimes terrifying people who have found something in each other that the normal world could not offer them. He meets Rebecca, a girl who hides a literal tail beneath her clothes. He meets Evra, a young man with skin like a snake who becomes something close to a roommate. He finds a community that strangely begins to feel like home. But Tiny comes to the camp. He wants Darren handed over. Mr. Tall refuses to decide immediately. Crepsley refuses entirely. The tension settles into something cold and permanent. Training begins. Crepsley is not a gentle teacher. He throws Darren to the ground and explains that being a half-vampire means nothing without blood. Without feeding, Darren will always be the weakest person in any fight. Darren refuses to drink. He is afraid that crossing that line will erase whatever is left of who he was before all this. The standoff between his principles and his survival becomes the central tension of his new existence. Meanwhile, Steve has not taken the rejection quietly. Merlot has found him, recruited him, and begun preparing him for something dark. He shows up at Darren's family home with Tiny in tow. Whatever Steve is becoming, it is moving in one direction only. The attack on the circus camp at night is meant to seize Darren. It nearly works. The fighting is chaotic and dangerous. A released werewolf, mirror-shattering impacts, enemies who heal as fast as they are cut. Crepsley hides Darren in a coffin to keep him safe. When morning comes, Rebecca is gone, taken. Darren does not pause to weigh his options. He leaves. The theatre is the final stage for everything this story has been building toward. Merlot has arranged it all: Rebecca suspended from a rope, Darren's actual family present as hostages, and Steve standing at the center of it all as the living proof that cruelty can grow from grief. Merlot's offer is designed to humiliate as much as destroy. Drink Rebecca's blood, and the family goes free. Become the monster to save the people who think you are already dead. Darren refuses. He grabs Steve's knife and starts fighting instead. What follows is the collision of every thread this story has been weaving since the beginning. Crepsley arrives and throws Madame Octa directly at Steve's face. Merlot and Crepsley trade attacks with a violence that turns the theatre into wreckage: chairs thrown, ceilings cracked, one of Merlot's own teeth lodged in Crepsley's forehead, which only seems to make the vampire angrier. Steve, for his part, stomps on Madame Octa out of spite. Behind the curtains, Rebecca offers Darren her blood, just enough to make him strong enough to matter. He hesitates, not from disgust, but from fear of who drinking it will make him. Rebecca says something quietly important. She tells him his choices are what define him, not his powers and not his blood. A person is not their biology, they are their decisions. Darren drinks. He reaches the fight in time to pull Crepsley from the edge of destruction. The shift in momentum is just enough. Crepsley drives a knife into Merlot's heart. It is over, but before Merlot dies, he delivers his final words as a promise rather than a warning. The war between vampires and vamps is no longer theoretical. It has officially begun. Steve still refuses to stop. He and Darren fight each other in a hallway, fast and furious and painful, in a way that has nothing to do with physical damage. These two were inseparable once. Now they are trying to hurt each other with everything they have. Tiny ends it. He appears from nowhere, calm as always, and tells them both that their futures have already been written. He hints that Darren may eventually become something far more frightening than the monsters he spent this whole story fighting. Then he looks at Darren and waits. Darren's answer is simple. He refuses to let a stranger's prophecy make his decisions for him. He chooses who he becomes, every single day. Tiny smiles like he expected that answer, then casts something over Merlot's dead body. The corpse shrinks, transforms, and becomes one of the tiny creatures that have been following Darren around since the beginning. The cycle, apparently, never really ends. Afterward, Darren finds his sister one last time. He hypnotizes his family so they will not remember that he is still alive. It is the most painful thing he has done since faking his own death, and it is motivated entirely by love. He protects them by erasing himself from their lives. Back at the camp, the circus family votes on whether to accept Darren as one of their own. It passes. The moment is oddly moving. These are people, creatures, who were rejected by the world they came from, who built something real from the wreckage of belonging nowhere, and now Darren is one of them. Crepsley leaves a gift in Darren's cabin, a coffin, his bed, his home, his resting place, customized with a built-in stereo system. It is, somehow, the perfect ending. Darren Shan did not become a vampire because he wanted power, or immortality, or revenge. He became one because he chose a friend over himself, over and over, until the universe ran out of ways to take things from him. The lesson buried in this story is not that the darkness will find you. It is that loyalty, taken far enough, will walk you directly into it. And the question that lingers after the credits roll is the one tiny planted like a seed on that rooftop, the one that does not have an easy answer yet. When the war comes, and it is coming, what kind of vampire will Darren choose to be? That, the story promises, is entirely up to him.